back to this side of the woods. Today we're going to be switching it up. We're going to get into the smaller equipment side of things. I had a friend of mine who called me up, said his generator wasn't working. Of course, his power goes out. Next thing you know, he tries his generator, doesn't work. I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people. So today we're going to go through, diagnose, and figure out what's wrong. I have a pretty good idea of what's going on with it. I'll start it up for you guys, show you what the troubleshoot problem is, and then I'll let you guys be able to sort of decipher it. Choke's on, it's got oil, it's got gas, got everything it needs to run, but all it does, it'll start up, it'll pop, and then it stalls out. It's likely going to be, if you haven't guessed already, a carburetor issue. So we're going to dive into it. We're going to get the carb off, take it apart, go through the innards, clean everything up, put it back together, see if we can't get this thing running yet. First thing we're going to do is remove the two 8mm bolts to expose the air filter. I'm not too worried about that. Little discoloration, but the fins aren't too bad. Next inside, we're going to have two more nuts at the bottom, and then the actual two nuts on the carb itself. Those are likely going to be 10mm. The biggest thing with carburetors, they don't like to sit, and when they do sit, they don't like to sit with ethanol fuel. So when you start putting the ethanol fuel on there, now I could be wrong, but I believe here up in Canada, they banned ethanol fuel back in 2022. So even if you go to the high test, it still contains up to 10% ethanol. We drop that down. Now we have our carburetor. I'm going to take the complete carburetor off, get over to the bench, and then diagnose everything there. This does have a shut off. I'm still going to use my hose clamps so I don't drip all the fuel off the floor, onto the floor from what's left in this hose. Those old fuel clamps like to break off. There we go. Put a new one on. Pop out your linkage arm and slide your carburetor off. Simple as that. If you break these, not a big deal. They're cheap. You can get them on Amazon or any part store. Okay, now we got the carb over on the bench. I just leave the gaskets on. I'm trying to make do with what I have. I won't have these gaskets in. I'm trying to find a part for this right now, or try to find these gaskets without making them my own. I'd be sourcing for a while. They're in good shape. They're stuck on there. They're not going to be an issue. Get all that fuel drained out of our bowl here. 1/2 inch to crack your bowl nut, and let's see what we have inside. It's actually fairly clean. As you can see, there's some boogers in there. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but there is a little bit of buildup around where the main jet is, and you can tell on the bottom it was rusting a bit. So there's likely some water in there at some point. Now, the next step we'll take out the pin for the float, if it wants to come out. Pop out this main jet first if I have something that's big enough. Alright, before I start messing around and trying to get this out, it's in there pretty good. This should just slide nicely and pop out. I did get the main jet out. It doesn't look to be clogged. In the actual main tube itself, you're probably not going to be able to see, but it's clear right through. Well, that pin doesn't want to come out, so I'm going to try to cheat the system a little bit. I'll use another tool I have to kind of make this work without having to try to force that pin. Issue is, if you force that pin and it doesn't want to come out, you risk breaking one of these arms, and then the carb's done. So while I was fiddling around, one of our gaskets did come off. The other one still fit on there, so I'm going to leave it. All I'm going to do is take a little gasket scraper, take off some of the top pieces here, just so I have a nice surface. It'll come off in what I'm about to use anyways. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a small engine, not a Ferrari. What I usually like to do, take a little bit of brakes part cleaner, give it a little rinse, try to get all that crud off, and then I'll take some carb clean, Try to get the debris off. Once all that's taken apart, got your main jet out, your bowl's off. Sometimes I use a little bit of Scotch-Brite inside just to get that rust off. I haven't had an issue when doing that, or I'll use the rag that all the gas comes out of. I'll clean everything off. Again, just to get all that sediment, grease, dirt, debris off. Make sure it's nice and clean around the rim. And then I'll bring you guys with me and show you my little bath system that I put it in. It's tried and true. I've used that for years now, and even on carburetors where I've cleaned them out, sprayed them out with carb spray, everything looked great. Jets were all open, and it would still run rough. I would put it inside this bath, and that carb would come out brand new. So let me bring you down to that, and we'll see what it does to this carb and if we can fix it. Okay, so here's the machine I use. It's a digital ultrasonic cleaner. That's the set temperature that I would normally set it to, and I usually run it for about 25 minutes. You can change it up and down, run it for as long as you want. You can set it, it goes all the way up to 50. Well, it just keeps going. I guess you go all the way up to 99 if you want. 45 works perfect on my end. Keeps the water warm enough with the degreaser and is able to break everything down. So I mix in here just some purple simple green. It's worked well for me. It seems to be a pretty heavy duty degreaser and it'll eat away at everything. Well, after this is sort of dried off, you can see all the corrosion and gunk buildup on there. I'm hoping after it runs through here I can get this pin out. If not, it should be able to flush out anything that may be in here after I blow it out with some compressed air and some carb cleaner after. So all I do, I'll submerge the carb, let it sit. I take an old cap off of a brake clean, carb cleaner, spray paint, whatever you got. I drilled a bunch of holes in it just so the water could drain out the bottom. And then I just took an old piece of wire that I had, put it through the side so I have a little cup. This one just happens to have 2 insides. So I usually put any jets inside there, and I'll put the bowl upside down and then let that submerge after it's all ready to go. And fortunately, you won't have to listen to this terrible sound for the next 25 minutes. You'll just see what it looks like after it comes out of the bath. Alright, our 25 minutes is up. Hopefully this doesn't make a fool of me and actually cleaned it. Well, the body itself is definitely cleaner, and it did clean it fairly good. All that gunk that was sitting around there all came off. Everything underneath the float is nice and clean. That pin is still doesn't want to come out. I'm not going to try to punch it out. I'm not going to mess with it. Let sleeping dogs lie, as they say. But all of these ports and stuff that you really can't get in and go through, that's where this comes in handy and really washes out everything. So the next step, we'll bring this back to the bench along with the bowl and the jets. See how they turned out. It did clean the bowl pretty good. You can see the scuffing from where it was rusting, but everything's gone. There's no more rust on the actual lip of the bowl anymore. And the bottom jet here, there's still that little bit of rust, but it did take off some of the actual finish. So, like I said, we'll bring this back to the bench and put it all back together. First thing I'm going to do, give this a thorough rinse with carb clean, wash out everything best that I can to get that degreaser and soap out of there. I don't want that going through. That's just going to cause more issues. Once all that's out, we'll put everything back together and we'll see if she runs. Back out to the bench. Let's get this rinsed off. I did miss one part. We're going to take that out just to make sure there's nothing gummed up inside there. Now, here's the fun part. We got that all blown out. We'll dry off our bowl or drop it in the dirt after you just cleaned it. Bowl, make sure our jet's okay. Give it a little spray through. And we are good to reassemble. Back together we go. Start off with the screw we just took out. If I can get it to line up. That's snug. Next we will put in our main jet. Now, let's go install this back on the generator and see if this was our issue. And dropping our linkage back in. Make sure your linkage moves freely, which it does. Get our gasket back on there. Let's situate so we can get, well, this is always fun. Oh, forgot one thing. Let me go grab a new fuel clip. An old barn sale I went to, he had a bunch of these sitting around. So I looked out and got a whole bunch of them. Might need to get one size up. Let's try one more size up. There we go. I'm going to leave this off just in case I got to take it back off if there's an issue, just a little bit faster. We're still on the run position. We'll turn the fuel on. I hear it draining inside. And let's see if she works. So choke's on. It's on. We got gas. Nothing's leaking from the bottom, which tells me my float's still working. Well, clearly we have a little bit more than a carb issue. There's one thing that I feel I overlooked, and I'm going to be really upset with myself if this is the issue. This does have a sensor for low oil. He told me that when he filled it back up with oil, the light went off. So I kind of bypassed it, not thinking anything of it, and figured it hasn't popped up for me, so clearly it's working. I'm going to unplug the switch for it and just see if that's our issue. It's going to be a good thing if it is, because at least it's an easy fix and we fixed it, but it's also going to be a pain because I could have solved this problem in 5 minutes. So we got our connection apart there. That goes to our sensor. Our switch should still work to go plug. We'll throw the choke on again. Okay, choke off. Well, that's embarrassing. At least you got a carb cleaned out of it. It's just a simple switch. Anyways, we live and we learn. I thought it was 100% going to be the carb, the way it was kind of running for a second, then dying off again and choking itself. Clearly, I should have went through a little bit more of a checklist and did all the simple things first before I took it apart. But we live and we learn. I had fun doing it. Anyways, guys, that's all it'll be for today's video. If you want a more in-depth breakdown of how a carb actually works, I have no problem doing a video like that. I do enjoy working on small engines. It was a little bit of my past forte. I appreciate you tuning in to this video, and thank you for joining me on this side of the woods.